and welcome to Real Estate Real Talk. I'm Marilee Rowley, Principal Broker of Selling Salt Lake, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about spring cleaning with a twist. We are going to talk today about getting rid of your hazardous materials around your house. It's the perfect time to start looking in your garage, cleaning out your closets, looking in your cleaning supplies, and figuring out what you need, what you don't need, and what you really probably should get recycled. So at Selling Salt Lake, we send out mailers a couple of times a year, 8 or 9 times a year. And this year, this magnet is what we sent out in May. And it is a magnet that just has information about it on how to recycle your household hazardous waste. I have been curious about this because we built our house 11 or 12 years ago, and we have so many gallons of leftover paint from the original paint job. And then since then, we've painted the house again, so we have different colors of paint. We just had gallons and gallons of it, and I didn't know what to do with it, and so I thought, I'm going to find out. And that's how I discovered that in Salt Lake County, we actually have a household hazardous waste collection center. And it's so easy to find. It's just right in Midvale off of 7th West and 90th South. You drive in, it's a really nice facility. You drive up to the awning, the portico, and you open up your car and somebody comes and they help you get out all the stuff out of your car and then they take it away. And I asked, what do you do with all that leftover paint? And they have such a cool program. So you can what happens is you're actually donating your paint, and they have a facility where other people who are coming in who need paint can come and look at your paint. And I don't know if they have to pay for it, or if it's just given to them, but in that way, the paint that's just kind of sitting around in your house can really be useful to somebody else. And you don't have to worry about getting rid of it because it is hazardous and toxic in the environment. So you don't want to put it down your sink. You don't want to pour it into the storm drain. You really want to make sure that you get rid of your paint successfully without causing a pollution event. So, Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center. It's located at 8805 South, 700 West, technically in Sandy. Great facility, really easy to get to, doesn't cost you anything. You can go and drop off all your stuff. I also dropped off some old computer monitors. Did you know that computer monitors, computers, tablets, TVs, all of those types of electronic items are also hazardous to the environment if you just put them in your garbage? They are created with a lot of heavy metals, and when those get discarded into the environment, they can leach into the soil and the water supply and contaminate those. So it's really important with your electronic waste that you also dispose of it at the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Facility in Sandy. They will take it off your hands and they will make sure that it gets recycled. So that's how you should dispose of your electronic waste, or just basically all of those old phones, computers, tablets, TV monitors, things like that that aren't being useful to you anymore. They will also make sure that they get recycled. And this is a great thing because they can go into those devices, remove the heavy metals that are still useful, and turn them around and put them into a new electronic device. This is great because it reduces the need to mine for those materials, and it creates a more circular, recyclable society where we're reusing items and giving them a second life. So please make sure that you dispose of your electronic waste in this way. I do recommend that you wipe any hard drives or anything that maybe has your private or sensitive data. Go ahead and revert back to the factory settings or whatever it is you need to do, just to make sure before you donate or recycle them that your information is safe. Also, yard care chemicals. You don't want to throw those in the trash. You can take them to this facility when they're no longer useful to you and make sure that they are disposed of properly so that they don't leach into the landscape. Batteries. Okay, this was funny. I never know what to do with batteries, and I sort of just throw them away and think, I hope that's okay. And in this case, I had a couple of C-cell batteries that I was taking out of something, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to take them to the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center. And I did, and I just handed them to the person, and she was like, why have you given me these? Which was hilarious, but I learned that you can actually dispose of those safely in your household garbage unless they're rechargeable. And if they're rechargeable batteries, then they have to be disposed of in a way that protects the environment. So take all of your rechargeable batteries to this facility as well. Cooking oil, I didn't know that you couldn't put that in the trash, but you shouldn't. You should take it to this facility. Automotive fluids, aerosols, fluorescent light bulbs. I've got a bunch of those that I need to take over there. Anything that contains mercury, if you have any of those old-fashioned thermometers or any device that contains mercury, you should take it there. And then many old cleaning supplies. You probably know that you don't want to dispose of ammonia and bleach at the same time. If those two liquids get mixed, it can create a potentially fatal breathing hazard. So please make sure that you're taking all of that also and disposing of it correctly. We're so lucky we have this facility here locally in Salt Lake County, so take advantage of it. It is a great way to take care of all of those things. Please use this facility. It's totally free. It's really nice, and they'll take good care of you there. Okay, so what else are we thinking about for the spring market in Salt Lake County? Well, since we're talking about spring cleaning, there are a couple of other things you can do around your house that are easy to miss. For example, when's the last time you cleaned out your dishwasher filter? It may have been a minute because that's gross, but it's really important for you to do, and it's really easy. You just twist it out, rinse it under your sink under hot water, get rid of all the gunk that may have accumulated in there, put it back in. Your dishes will be cleaner than ever. Did you know there's a filter in your washing machine that you can easily twist out and clear out as well? That's something really important. Let's make sure that your smoke alarms have current up-to-date batteries. As you know, you can dispose of those in your regular household trash as long as they're not rechargeable. But it's a good idea to make sure that you get those changed at least once a year. Some people say every 6 months. I think once a year is great. I am not an electrician. I know you're changing your furnace filter way more often than this, but if you're not doing it often enough, go ahead and do it now. It's a really easy thing to do. I like to order 12 at a time. I change mine out once a month because I have big furry dogs, and so that's just important at my house. So make sure you're getting your furnace filters cleaned out and changed out. Switching gears from household maintenance and cleaning, let's just talk about, since we're kind of in the midst of a busy spring market here in Salt Lake County as far as the housing market goes, how will the tariffs affect what's going to happen next? Well, nobody really knows, but here are some of the possibilities that could happen in the market. One of the problems that we have, why our housing market is so expensive in Salt Lake County and in Utah generally, is because we have had a housing shortage ever since the housing bubble burst back in 2008. We have had a deficiency of the number of houses that we really need for all of the households that are forming. We have a lot of natural population growth here in Salt Lake County and in Utah in general, and we have a lot of people moving into the state, so a lot of in-migration. All of this creates a demand for more houses, and generally we have a housing shortage here, and that has contributed to housing prices being quite high because we have a supply and demand issue. Well, one of the reasons that we have, for example, right now, a $20,000 credit on new construction homes for anything that's up to $450,000 is not necessarily for the benefit of the buyer, although buyers do benefit, but really it's to keep buyers buying new construction so that builders are able to continue building even in a down market so that we can get ahead of this housing shortage we're in. The only way to get ahead of it is to create new housing, and builders are a huge part of that. So what we're hearing from our builder colleagues is that when and if tariffs do go into effect, they will really impact the supply of building materials coming into the country and into the state. So lumber, steel, those kinds of things will be more expensive, which will drive up the prices of housing, which will, if people can't afford to buy that, decrease the number of people who can qualify for these prices that are going to be higher. So how will all this eventually shake out? That's unknown, but these are some issues that could affect the housing market in the next months and years to come, something to be mindful about. We really do need our builders to keep building. We need our legislators to make it easier to build, and we want to be mindful about regulation. About 40% of the cost of a new condo or townhouse comes from regulation that is part of getting permits, developing land, and things like that to prepare a vacant parcel of land to be ready for construction. And 40% of the cost is pretty high. For a single family house, that cost is more like 23 to 28% in permits and regulations. So our legislators have a battle to find that balance between properly regulating to make sure that the environment is taken care of, to make sure that building codes are safe, and to make sure that the impact in the city and to traffic and to water supply and all those things is considered, and also to deregulate enough to bring those parts of the cost of building down. Another issue that we may run into with tariffs, and we are to some degree so far, is that there is some investment caution in the market in general. So people are not totally sure where to put their extra money to invest in the stock market or into the real estate market, what's going to provide a better return. It's hard to say. The tariffs have caused some uncertainty there. So that's another potential issue that we could come into that could have an effect on our housing market. So there's a lot of work to do in increasing our housing supply here in Utah. And there are so many moving parts to it. If you want to know more about that or have a conversation, please give me a call. I would love to talk about it. I, of course, find the housing market to be pretty fascinating, so I'm happy to discuss and learn more and teach as much as I can. Thanks for joining us today for this issue of Real Estate Real Talk. Again, I am Marilee Rowley, Principal Broker for Selling Salt Lake. Happy to talk to you about any of your real estate questions, and find us on all our socials. Bye.